Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Joining me here are obviously Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford and our Budget Secretary David Brinkley. Before we get started today, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who joined us for yesterday's inauguration. It was an incredible day. I'm truly humbled to have been sworn in to serve another term as governor of the great state of Maryland. We had quite a celebration with a few thousand of our friends last night, but now it's back to work. So tomorrow morning, we have invited all of the fiscal leaders of the legislature from both parties to Government House for a fiscal summit breakfast as we officially submit our FY 2020 budget. Our administration pledged to bring fiscal restraint to Annapolis, to hold the line on spending, and for 4 years we have. We vowed to fund priorities like education, transportation, health care, and the environment, while also easing the tax burden on hardworking Maryland families, retirees, and small businesses. We have done exactly what we said we would do. The FY 2020 budget that we will submit tomorrow builds on that progress. Not only does it fully fund all of our priorities, it also fully funds all of the legislature's mandated spending programs and includes important one-time investments in our state's infrastructure. Once again, we will provide historically high record funding for K through 12 education, our 5th consecutive budget to do so. This is the most money ever spent on education in our state's history. Once again, we are fully funding program open space and land preservation projects. The budget provides measured and targeted tax relief, along with important economic development investments to incentivize more job creation, train our workforce, and ensure that Maryland's most vulnerable citizens have access to critical health care services. Our FY 2020 budget maintains $1.3 billion in reserves, while still investing $3.3 billion more for transportation infrastructure. It does all of this without raising taxes, without cutting services, and without raiding dedicated special funds, as had become a common occurrence for years. Our budget is 100% structurally balanced for the 5th straight year. As a direct result of our fiscal discipline, our belt tightening, and business-friendly policies over the past 4 years, our state had one of the best economic turnarounds in the nation. More businesses are open and more people are working than ever before in the history of our state. However, as we have every year, I want to again caution members of the legislature against unsustainable spending. For decades, state revenues have been volatile and somewhat unpredictable. They can easily be up one year and down the next based on a number of things like changes in the national economy and the stock market. So we must remain vigilant about maintaining savings in order to be better prepared for those times when more flexibility is needed, while also making necessary targeted one-time investments. That is what our budget once again has accomplished. Now, let me go into a few of the specifics of the FY 2020 budget. As I mentioned, for the 5th year in a row, we will provide historic and unprecedented levels of education funding. In this budget, we put a record $6.9 billion into K through 12 education, which is once again above and beyond the education spending formulas proposed by the legislature. not only will every single penny that every single jurisdiction anticipates from the state for education be fully funded at 100%, but every single school system in Maryland will see increased investment by the state. The legislature's current funding formulas call for Baltimore City to receive $11 million less this year in K through 12 education funding, and they propose decreases in funding for a number of other school systems that have declining enrollments. However, our budget ignores those legislative recommendations and restores all of this important funding, continuing to fund all local jurisdictions at record levels. More than half of our entire capital budget goes toward education. We were successful in enacting the Casino Lockbox Initiative, enabling us to provide an additional $4.4 billion more for K through 12, the vast majority of which will go directly into the classrooms for critical things like teacher salaries, pre-K expansion, extended academic programming for at-risk students, and innovative career technology education programs. Our budget will also reserve an additional $200 million to implement further recommendations of the Kirwan Commission if and when they are submitted. We are providing nearly $30 million to strengthen school safety with additional school resource officers and mental health counselors, and $300,000 to establish 3 new P-TECH schools. We also announced the creation of a Building Opportunity Fund, which will provide a total of $3.5 billion in school construction funding over 5 years, including $2 billion in additional dedicated funding for school construction. Reflecting that commitment, our fiscal 2020 budget includes an additional $438 million more for school construction funding, which is the biggest investment in school construction in state history. But providing record funding for our schools isn't enough. With this kind of historic taxpayer investment, parents, teachers, students, and taxpayers deserve more accountability. They have a right to expect better results, better local management, and stronger oversight, which is why our budget also provides $1.4 million to support the newly created Education Monitoring Unit and Office of Compliance and Oversight within the State Department of Education, and to create an Office of the State Education Investigator General. Our FY 2020 budget provides a record $1.45 billion to the University System of Maryland. This includes $20 million, twice the level of last year, to develop academic programs in critical STEM fields. Community colleges, again, are fully funded. Our budget provides $15 million for the Community College Promise Scholarship Program to offer a free community college education to thousands of Marylanders, as well as another $8 million for our expanded initiative, which extends the Promise Scholarship Program to include public four-year institutions. And we again provided additional investment in order to limit any tuition growth at our universities and colleges to 2%. To keep adding jobs, growing our economy, and educating our workforce, our budget includes $56.5 million to encourage investment and revitalization by making Maryland's 149 opportunity zones the most competitive ones in America. This includes $16 million for the Maryland Technology Infrastructure Fund and $3 million for the job training program Opportunity Works to continue Maryland's leadership on health care. Our 2020 budget provides $11.5 billion for Maryland's Medicaid program and $1.3 billion for the developmental disabilities community. Our budget also dedicates nearly $250 million more to continue to combat the heroin and opioid crisis, which is an increase of 20% over last year. On behalf of our dedicated Maryland State employees, we were pleased to have very productive negotiations with 4 out of the 5 Maryland State employee unions, including the American Federation of Teachers, the Maryland Professional Employees Council, the State Law Enforcement Officers Labor Alliance, and the Fraternal Order of Police. Each of these unions worked with us in good faith, and as a result, our budget provides raises of at least 3% to all members with the potential for more based on revenues. Unfortunately, one union, AFSCME, refused to even come to the table, choosing instead to simply play divisive political games at the expense of hardworking Maryland State employees. I'm announcing today that we have filed an unfair labor practices action against the leaders of this AFSCME union. However, I do not want to punish hardworking state workers because of the failures of these paid political operatives. So our fiscal 2020 budget provides a 3% raise to all state employees, including those covered by AFSCME. In public safety, our budget provides $13 million for step increase, along with $7.6 million for recruitment bonuses to recruit and retain correctional officers at our state prison facilities. In Baltimore City, we will invest another $19 million for Project CORE to continue our successful blight removal program, and $2.2 million for our recently announced Violent Crime Joint Operations Center. Finally, our FY 2020 budget includes targeted tax relief to help Marylanders who deserve it the most, including retired military, law enforcement officers, professional and volunteer fire, rescue, and emergency services personnel. For other Maryland retirees, we are seeking to extend state tax exemptions to additional retirement plans like IRAs. We're providing much-needed tax relief for those struggling with student loan debt. We are also proposing tax relief for businesses that locate or expand in a Maryland Opportunity Zone. They will receive a tax credit for 10 years for each new job they create. And we will exempt 100% of their state property taxes. We will waive all business recording, filing, and special fees. And we will be providing an additional $6 million in tax credits for job creation in opportunity zones. We're also offering tax credits to incentivize Maryland small businesses to offer parental leave to their employees. Further details of the proposed 2020 budget will be available when it is submitted tomorrow. This is just the first step in the budget process. The legislature will then have the next 75 days to review it, debate it, make revisions to it, and then it'll be up to them to pass a final budget. I want to thank our entire team for all of their efforts on our proposed budget, and I'm eager for the legislature to now begin their role in the process. And with that, I'll be happy to take a few questions.
Governor,